Hello, Amber.
Hello, Torry. Torry Martin.
Oh,
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I've been looking forward to this call all day.
You have? That's awesome. You know what? It's amazing when you have really great friends that you can call and actually they know all this important information about writing that you
Oh, I
can
thought you
share
were
with.
going to ask me where the nearest Baskin Robbins was again. I get so tired of that call. Like, why are you supposed to assume that I'm going to know, no matter what state you're in? And it's sad that I do.
You do know. You do know. Well, you are not only my friend, but you are an author, a screenwriter, a comedian, a storyteller, and an all-around great guy. Hilarious guy.
And you always got to bring it down to my weight. Who cares what my body shape is? I am a round, great guy.
I didn't say round.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, I did. Oh, I'm sorry. Faux pas. Okay. A superhero of a guy.
Ah, thanks.
No, and we get to talk to you live from your superhero office.
Yes, this is my comic book office. I
Yes.
built it myself. It's my brain space.
So, speaking of superheroes and developing characters for your books and your screenplays and your comedy, where do you get your inspiration?
Where do I get my inspiration for, well, the comedy just comes into it. Where do I get my inspiration for ideas, for scripts and books and stories? Usually from a situation that inspires me or something that I observe or something that I've been involved in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
A real response will usually trigger the idea for a story.
That's awesome. Now, you have, how many characters do you have in your head at one moment?
It depends on which project I'm working on. Right now, I'm working on 14 different projects with 14 different people, writers. You know,
Wow.
out there. Yeah, it's
And
fun.
how do you keep them different and fresh and new? Do you base them on people or do you just keep basing them off yourself?
Oh, I don't think there's very many that are actually based on myself. So your characters will find some of your feelings and some of your thoughts in them, but they're always evolved characters all on their own. I forgot the question again.
How do Well, I think I forgot the question too. That's not good.
How do I keep the characters fresh?
Yeah, how do you keep them fresh or do they collide?
I
You
watch
have
them daily. Each character just kind of speaks to themselves. The character just evolves. I mean, I always like these people who are, I think it's interesting that some people make these really deep outlines, character outlines. And I feel sometimes that when they do that before starting, that they kind of trap themselves into where the character can go.
Yes.
I like the character to evolve as the story proceeds. Much like we do in our own life, we're constantly evolving. Although we do not believe in Darwin.
We're not monkeys. Although we could be.
Well, yes. Although we both love the monkeys.
Yes, we do both love the monkeys. And a big
You're
shout out to
okay.
Mickey Dolenz right here, who will be in Springfield on September the 29th. What kind of stories do you like to tell?
I like to tell stories that make people want to reach higher in their lives and that inspire people to make a positive change.
Yes. And maybe one story that's really inspired you, besides the Bible? You don't have to say that.
A story that's really inspired me, like one of my favorite books or something.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to sound really silly, but one of my favorite books, probably my favorite book, is Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery, Lucy Maud Montgomery. And what I liked about Anne of Green Gables, the whole series of those books, was that you wanted to live in that town.
Yes.
Each character felt fully evolved, fully realized. You wanted to see Mrs. Rachel Lynde. You wanted to hear her gossiping. You wanted to hang around Matthew and Marilla. You wanted to know Gilbert. You definitely wanted to have Anne's friend. Just the whole world that this author created.
Yes.
That's
awesome. You wanted to dye your hair green?
No, never wanted to do that.
No, or find a boat and lay in a river and float down there. Yeah, that's probably me.
Never wanted to do that either.
Oh, well, that stinks. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, What is one character that you've developed that you have really fallen in love with over the years as they have changed? Maybe you've written about them over and over again.
Well, I created the character of Wooten Bassett for Adventures in Odyssey, and that is a character who is continually evolving and changing and yet not changing at the same time. I really love him. He's a fun character. He's got a great heart. He sees the world from a different perspective. He's not just goofy. He's also insightful. Mm-hmm. And I find him, and he's disarming. With his honesty. I like that.
Does he have red hair?
He does.
Does he like to wear backwards baseball cap?
He has a tendency to wear his forward. It's a very forward look. This is him. This is Wooten on the cover of Clubhouse there. They actually just sent me that hat yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite characters. Another character that I'm working on right now that I really enjoy writing for is Helen story in Helen of Troy, Tennessee, which is a comedy set in the South, contemporary days, and that one's kind of fun too.
That's awesome.
And yeah.
How would you encourage students to build better characters for their stories?
Well, make sure that they're honest, and make sure that you have an emotional connection to the character, and make sure you know how you want your character to have changed by the end of the story, because story is all about change. So you should have some goal in mind that you want this character to reach that will inspire your reader or your viewer to make the same similar change in their own life, whether it's to be braver or more bold or more daring.
Now, you never went to school to learn to write.
No, right. I fell into writing completely by accident. I went to college to major in theater. I was going to be an actor, which I still am. That's still my first love. I fell into writing by accident.
Wow.
Complete accident. I've barely graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
Went to college for 1 year and dropped out because I got cast in a national tour for Columbia Artists and started traveling. So writing just something I fell into.
Yes. How did you take acting and become the writer?
How do I take acting? I think as an actor, I mean, have you ever seen some really bad movies?
Yes.
As an actor, you'll watch some films and you're like, the acting's okay, but they had a lot better dialogue than that. I didn't believe that dialogue for a minute. So as an actor, you sort of develop an ear for writing good dialogue and what sounds natural for a character. And so you take those things, those attributes that you have as an actor, and put them into your writing.
Yes. And how, as a writer and screenwriter and movie maker of the future, how do you want to transform the industry?
How do I want to transform the industry? Transform the industry. I don't care about transforming the industry. I care about transforming lives. You know, I want to write positive stuff that has a positive message and creates a positive change. From a Christian worldview, when I'm writing mainstream, and with a Christian message when I'm writing the Christian entertainment industry.
Wow, that's good. And you've worked on in the secular marketplace. How is that different as a Christian comedian working?
How is it different?
How is it different?
It's more challenging. It's more challenging, but in a different way. It's just different.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that. I'm not any different, but my surroundings certainly are.
Now, is it true that somebody can take your story, take your screenplay, if you go and make, sell it to someone else and change it into something that you didn't intend it to be?
Yeah, that happens all the time. And I think I found that a lot of writers, when they write something, they're like, oh, that's my baby, don't ever change a word. And the truth is, you're going to have to do stuff to that baby that should be technically illegal to do to babies. But your story is going to go through a lot of changes. Now, I know for myself, I won't write anything that has any sexual innuendo or any language in it. I will not do that. But in my mind, I know that when I sell the screenplay to a studio, they're probably going to make changes to give that movie a higher rating, to go from a G to a PG to a PG-13. And they might put in some sexuality, some language. They might do that. I'm fine with that, as long as I don't have to do that.
Yes.
Corey Edwards is somebody who I greatly admired, a filmmaker. He did the movie Hoodwinked and Hoodwinked 2. And after Hoodwinked 2 came out, the studio made some changes to his script that he addressed in a blog of his online and said, hey, I didn't add those elements. I want you to know I didn't write them. If you object to those elements, write to the studio and tell them that it didn't need it. But I still encourage you to go out there and support my film.
What is one piece of advice that you would give to a writer starting out?
One piece of advice, to persevere, to do your best, and to just keep writing is one thing that I would say. The other thing is maintain your integrity in the conduct of your career and in your writing. Yes. It's getting to the point today, I'm going to talk to you guys that like your Christian writers who want to work in the Christian industry, or people who are Christians and are writers and want to work in the mainstream. I don't care which field you want to be in. You've got to maintain your integrity throughout. I think that if you're promoting a set of values in your mainstream play, as from a Christian worldview, or in a Christian world from your Christian novel, if you're promoting a set of values that you do not personally live up to, you are a hypocrite. You've got to watch the air that you're breathing, and by that I mean, if you're going to write and have a message that's transforming the world, you need to stay in the Word of God and you need to have some prayer time. You just have to do that. Otherwise, you become one of those whitewashed sepulchres that are full of dead bones inside. It looks like a Christian message. It looks like a Christian book. It looks like a Christian worldview, but it's an empty clattering inside. There's some filmmakers I know actually in Nashville right now who are not Christians, but have the funding to make 15 Christian movies right now because it's a profitable genre.
Wow.
To me, Jesus is not a genre. He's a savior.
It's true. It is true. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate it.
I want to say one more thing.
Yes.
Make your antagonist just as interesting as your protagonist. That's the number one thing that writers don't do. They fully develop their protagonist, and their antagonist is weak and uninteresting.
Oh, yes.
Your antagonist has to be just as strong as your protagonist. Otherwise, there is no interesting obstacle for your protagonist to overcome.
That's awesome. Okay, one more thing. How do you flesh out the details of your novel? How do you, or your screenplay? How do you get the pictures for where you want this to be, or the scenery that this takes place in, instead of making it the same old description every time?
Oh, you've got to find an interesting place. You can have the same conversation anywhere you want to, but you've got to put it in a place of interest. And I always make an element different. Like in Helen of Troy, there's this one scene where in a restaurant where her father is an agoraphobic traveling salesman. So he never leaves his house. He's a salesman. So in the bottom floor of the restaurant, there's a hole in the ceiling where the apartment is, and the father talks through the hole in the ceiling and gets his world out that way. That keeps it not just a restaurant, but visually interesting because all these other things are happening too. When Harry Met Sally is a great movie. They do place their conversations in the most interesting places. Rather than a library, let's do it in the World History Museum. Yeah. Rather than a cafeteria, let's do it at a state fair where there's a food tasting thing. Just find a visual location that your reader and your viewer, if it's a film, will want to see and want to imagine.
Yes, that's really cool. And any final nuggets of wisdom that you want to tie this up with?
No, just. Well, I will say this: make sure that there's an emotional connection for you to your story. Because if you're just writing a story for the sake of writing a story and hoping to get a paycheck, you're going to have a really flat story that people are going to feel was like a rice cake. It filled me up, but there was no value in that at all. If you don't have a true emotional response to your story, your audience will never respond to it emotionally either. Be willing to make yourself vulnerable. And that means sharing your stories, sharing your feelings, the things you believe in. Because if you had an emotional response to that thing that happened to you and you make yourself vulnerable by sharing that with your readers, your reader is going to have an emotional response to that too, because it can have a ring of truth to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You are so smart, and you have such a wealth of knowledge. You just want to like get in your brain and like be the hamster in the wheel.
You're assuming I can afford a hamster.
Well, thank you for being with us, and a plug for your book.
Oh, my latest book is, well, it should be here. How bad is it?
How bad is that?
My latest book is Shameless Self-Promotion for the Christian Creative. It's to help writers who are just starting out and need to publish their book, actors, musicians, singers, with Mike and Paula Parker. It's everything you need to know about promoting your career.
That's awesome.
But without losing your soul.
That's awesome. And you can find out more in the new On-Course Fine Arts Schedule book. You want to make sure you check that out. And the website, what's the website?
And my co-writer, Marcia Younger, and I have an article in there, too, about collaborative writing.
Collaborative writing, and that's very important for building story sometimes. Sometimes we don't want to go outside of ourselves, but...
Yes. We need to collaborate on something sometime.
Exactly. We can collaborate on this video.
We can. Okay. Thanks for everything. It was an honor to be here.
You're welcome. Your website, Torry1e.com.
Torry1e.com, Torry Martin.com, and add me on Facebook. Facebook is listed under Torry Martin. Space is just one word, Torry Martin.
And if people talk to you, you talk back. That's really cool.
I do. I talk smack too. So. On Facebook I am, and it's fun. It's fun to interact with people.
That's awesome. And they can Skype with you too. No, I'm just joking.
No, I don't have time for that.
Well, thanks for being with us.
Okay, thanks. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.